Ladies and gentlemen, the Dees have told Stephen May they don't want him at the club next year. Should we think about it? Maybe. It's time to talk all things black and white. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Morris comes out this morning with a massive one and announces that Stephen May has been advised by the Melbourne Demons that he should seek a trade elsewhere for next season due to their reasoning. Now, whether this is a smokescreen, it's a bit of a front. Their reasoning was they want to invest in their youth. Now, is that a confusing statement or reason within itself? A little bit, because they're offering a 3-year, allegedly offering a contract to Brody Myercheck for 3 years, as I just mentioned, although that isn't a forward line. So maybe they're confident that they can fill the gap that Stephen May leaves in the back line more so than someone who could fill the gap or leave and fill the gap in the forward line. So we start with that. He has a year left on his contract. So now that the Demons have advised they want him gone, I'm sure they will work with Stephen May and the club that he prefers to go to. They'll all work and it will be hopefully a friendly negotiation. Okay, so you guys seen this video, maybe it enrages you immediately, instantaneously when I put up the title and thumbnail that you see about the guy that has said so many things and has had cultural issues at the Dees and has talked jargon about Collingwood in bad ways, and that's probably the major concern for you guys when it comes to considering a man like Stephen May is his attitude, if you want to call it. I mean, you see the on-field dilemma he had with Max Gawn after the King's birthday clash. So I see that. I do see that. I'm not naive enough to just turn a blind eye to the fact that there is a personality issue, perhaps, with Stephen May. But if you think about it like this, if he was to come to a Collingwood Football Club, he'd go through all the meetings and the expectations and how the culture is different, and Collingwood would obviously be incredibly meticulous with who they bring in, and as they always are, especially when there's been disciplinary issues in the years gone by at the club, the Collingwood Football Club, so they don't want to go backwards in that sense. So I'm sure a conversation and just setting the guidelines, putting them in black and white and saying this is what it is. If you don't want to be a part of this, then we don't want you. I think at least the conversation should be had. I don't know who else in the market could who would be a great fit for Stephen May. Like if we talk about some of the teams, you got Carlton, who Stephen May at 32 going 33 next year. Does he want to play at a club that may or may not be a competitive side? Whereas I would imagine you'd prefer to go to a club like Collingwood, who are in a prelim final, and they always seem to find a way to be relevant every single season, most seasons if not. So that's the conversation against Carlton. And then the other side of that, you can say, well, he doesn't like Collingwood, so to go to Carlton would be fitting. It would make sense. I understand that. It seems like Tom Morris has suggested straight away a tweet after the initial tweet suggesting that the Bulldogs will not attract or not contact and reach out to Stephen May. So that one, put a pencil through that one at this point in time. I'm hearing North could be an option. But once again, what does Stephen May want in his final years? Does he want a premiership, or does he want to help develop a side that, once again, may or may not be competitive next season? St Kilda, they've already got their guy, Jack Silvani. Jack Silvani, they've got their guy. So, look, the market is probably going to be thin when it comes to who and which club you could go to be a premiership fancy at. So there's that to keep in mind. The costings of a player like Stephen May with his contract, I'm sure Melbourne would be willing to pay a portion of the contract that Stephen May is on currently, and then I would suspect a late second round or maybe even a third round draft pick for a Stephen May, who's still a great player, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to cough up too much for someone who's under contract, 32 going 33. I think there's got to be a bit of leeway there from Melbourne if they don't want him at the club. So there's that. But we know what Stephen May is on the field. He's an experienced key defender, 2-time All-Australian, premiership player, finals proven, great one-on-one, versatile. The game, if you guys go back and watch the game he had against Jamie Elliott in the final round of the season, I thought he played Jamie Elliott really well for the most part. And his numbers stand the test against the great defenders in this league. So if we can just look past the attitude and just say in a hypothetical world that we could change his outlook and his approach if he was to wear the black and white, would you consider him? That's probably my final question. And then to you guys. But maybe another thing to consider is if we bring him in, is he clogging up the list and stunting our development? I don't know. I think Billy Frampton's been great this year, but that is this year. We don't know what happens next year. Darcy Moore will be in the side. Jeremy Howe, how available will he be next season? And then Reef coming off an ACL has been given a 2-year contract, so I imagine we're going to give him a grace period and give him some time. So in my opinion, I think Stephen May is a perfect stopgap for the next couple years while we hope that Reef comes good. Ilaru Smith's been training as a key defender. Noah Howe's in the VFL scratch match. Jacob Ryan, TJ, these types of players aren't a like for like. So there really isn't a lot happening. So whether we get our next key defender through players who've been drafted recently or in the draft in the future or free agency, the fact of the matter is we do have not a gaping hole in our backline because we're the number one defensive side all season long. So let's be mindful, like we're so desperate for key defenders, but at the same time, our system just works so cohesively that we're able to accommodate and compensate for players who aren't maybe all-Australian caliber. We talk about players like Billy Frampton, who's playing really well. But I think when things aren't going well, these types of players, even Darcy Moore, they struggle. They struggle when there's repeat pressure, repeat entries in our D50. I think Stephen May, you've seen him in the good, you've seen him in the bad, and he still has a baseline standard and expectation going into every game. So I don't think he's holding anyone up. I think he's actually, he would help bring them up. And then when it's his time to go, it's his time to go. 1 to 2 seasons max. I mean, his durability's been pretty good since he's come to Melbourne. 23 games in 2021, 22 games, 23 games, 19 games, 16 games. So for the most part, he's been pretty available as far as his health status has been concerned. Any important points I've missed here? I mean, if I have, let me know in the comment section. We can extend that conversation here and also into the live stream. And if you've made it this far, consider subscribing. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go Pies.